Hi, I'm the Rick and Rick Turns, and today I'm going to make a back scratcher. Now this is not using one of those wimpy little back scratcher kits where it has that little claw that's only about so wide and all you do is turn a handle. No, I'm going to build a manly back scratcher, one that you can use to beat off zombies with if necessary, and gentle enough to scratch your back. So, let's get started. Now, a wood-turned back scratcher is not a real common item. And so I was kind of stumbling around in the dark. So the first back scratcher I came up with was for the real macho man, one who's really into self-punishment. This is just a single piece of wood, turned, the little knob on here, a little decoration down here. And then I studded it with some nails and cut off their heads. Now this is a back scratcher that'll really scratch those itches, I'll tell you. However, it might be a little too vigorous for you. I'll let you know when the scars on my back heal up how it really turned out. So back scratcher number one, maybe not the best effort here. Back scratcher number two, a little improvement. It's two pieces now, and the end of the handle just fits in to the hole drilled through there. Now this one works okay. You will notice, of course, that the scratching edges are vertical and lie with the handle, and since you're going to be scratching up and down that way, that's probably not the greatest orientation for the scratching surface. So prototype number two, another failure, I'm afraid. Well, with the third one, I tried more of a traditional design, and this, of course, looks like you could take it out into the garden and use it to dig up weeds and plant flowers. It actually works okay, oddly enough. This one is two pieces, of course, just like this. I turned this one around, a round circle, and then just on the bandsaw chopped off the edges just to make it a little more rectangular. And it'll scratch okay, just like that. Does pretty well, but frankly it's a bit on the ugly side. So I wanted to give it another shot. So back scratcher prototype 3, not a tremendous success. Now, number 4. This one, now we're actually making some progress here because this one works very well. The back scratching edges right here are at 90 degrees to the direction of the scratch, like this. And it works quite well. The handle's a little bit longer than a couple of the other ones, as you can see here. I think a longer handle is probably better. Actually, the handle length kind of depends on the piece of scrap that I have available. This one works pretty good. It doesn't really need this piece right here. I turned, as you can see, 4 scratching edges on it. And I think this one just gets in the way. It doesn't need all of them. Looks a little clunky. It's going to look a little clunky even without that. This is basically what I'm going to be making today. I'm only going to have 3 scratching edges and a handle. The handle will fit into the head like this, into a hole that I'll drill into the end of the head. In terms of materials that I need to make another back scratcher, I need a handle piece. This is about, I think it's about 13 inches long, maybe a little bit longer, and about 1.5 inches on a side. I'll be cutting that down to round and then taking it down to maybe 1 inch or so. I tend to like kind of a fat, sturdy handle like that. Not something that like only a 1/2 inch or something. And then for the head, I'm going to use this piece right here. Now, the original one I showed you had a smaller head on it. It was made from a chunk this size, about 2.5. This is about 3.5, and it will give me a greater distance from the center line of the back scratcher here to the outer edge of the scratching surface, which means that you don't have to hold it quite as close to your back. Makes it a little more convenient to use when you've got a larger distance from here to here. So it's a very simple piece and it's very easy to make. Let's go to the lathe. This is the head of the Backscratcher. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be turning it just like this. I'm only going to have 3 of these scratching surfaces, so there's just 3 little discs here. I cut this to 3 inches long, and it's about 3.5 inches wide. First thing I'm going to do is bring it down to round. And I am at about 1400. Down to round. Now I'm going to turn a tenon on this end to fit my chuck. Alright, I'm going to reverse this, put it in the chuck, be right back. Now I've got it mounted in my chuck. I'm going to use my skew tool, and I'm going to make a paring cut just to flatten this out. And just a tiny hole right in the center, make it easier for the drill bit to get started. I'm ready to drill my center hole. I'm using a 7/8 inch bit right here, and of course I'll turn a corresponding 7/8 inch tenon on the handle piece. I'm going to drill it in 1 inch. That's plenty. That's right around 400. This is a very short piece, held very securely in the chuck. I really don't need the tailstock, but just for the little bit of extra support, I've got a cone center right in there, and I'm just going to go ahead and run the tailstock in. There we go, right there. So that is my midpoint. So I will have one scratching ridge right here. Still got the lathe set down fairly slow here. And now I'm going to run it up to, let's see, a couple of thousand maybe. So these are the bottom and the top scratching edges, and this is the middle one. And one thing that would be nice is to get all 3 of these equal diameter, which would mean that ruler is straight. Looks pretty good. So one thing I want to mention, don't try and get these too sharp. They'll just get brittle. That's good. And that's all the turning I'm going to do on the head. That's about 2100. First thing I'm going to do is bring this down to round. Alright, that looks like it's probably 1.25 inches in diameter. I like a kind of a big stout handle, both on my turning tools and my back scratchers. So I'm going to stick with that size approximately. I'm going to narrow it in a little bit in the middle. And I'm going to make this the end that goes into the head. Now I'm going to use a fluted parting tool just to make a couple of very small beads. See how this does. Sometimes it just chips up the wood so much that it's not worth it. I'll give it a try here. And I'm going to turn the lathe speed up even higher. 2500. How that looks. Alright, that's not too bad. A little bit of chipping, but not too much. Now I'm going to cut the tenon on this end to go into the head. And as you recall, I drilled a hole in the head 1 inch. I'm going to mark the tenon at just shy of 1 inch. No. Yes, mark the tenon just shy of 1 inch. I don't want it to bottom out and show a tenon edge. I want it to go all the way in to the shoulder. And I'm going to use my tenoning cutter. And I'm going to cut that shoulder with a slight slant inward to get a cleaner, tighter fit against the edges. Alright, just a tiny bit too big. Alright, by golly, it's a pretty good fit. So now, good. Now you can see we've got a nice sharp contact there between the shoulder and the body. So I'm just going to put glue on here. And just put some down in here. This is just plain old woodworking glue. Okay, that glue needs to set up for about 30 minutes, and then I'll come back and try it out. And the glue is set up now. Probably doesn't show in the video, but there's a thin line of squeeze out right there, which I deliberately did not wipe off when it was wet, because that's a good way of getting glue stains on there, which if you put any finish on or something, they won't go away. So what I'm doing now is just using a knife and chipping off that little bit of a bead there. That's good enough. So really, this is all finished, except for finish. I will probably put on some boiled linseed oil and nothing else. I might not even bother with that. I kind of like the look just like it is. Doesn't really need any finishing. So these feel good. They're not too sharp. They feel nice and strong. They're not going to break away under use. And nice and even across here. So this looks good. I think the best thing to do now is to actually give it a feel test on my back. All right, moment of truth. Feel testing the wood-turned Backscratcher. Dum, 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 dum. Of course, I would normally use it without a shirt on, but I don't want to subject anyone to that. Yes, it works. Wow. And I think it does work better than any of my other models. The larger head, I think, was a good idea. Okay, let's see. The stealth back scratching. Oh, that's perfect. Excellent. Terrific. My wood-turned Backscratcher is a success. This is model number 5, and I think this one is a definite keeper. If you do make one of these yourself, I recommend using a hard degree of wood up here. This one is river birch, I think. Some old scrap that I had, but just don't use anything really soft like pine or maybe poplar, because I don't think it would do real good on the edge. It's liable to break off on the thin edge. Don't cut your edges too thin. As you can see, these have a good bit of meat behind them. And make the length appropriate to whatever feels comfortable for you. Cut it longer than you expect, and then you can always make it shorter. So, couple other benefits to this you probably haven't noticed. If you sharpen this in, you can stake it down into the ground beside your sidewalk or beside your walkway up to your house, and it will look like just like one of those security lights, except it won't light up very well. Even if you run an electrical cord to it, which I tried, didn't do much good. And otherwise, looks like a really cool flying saucer on a stick. Flying saucer on a stick. All right. Hope you enjoyed if you decide to make one. See you next video. You can also tenderize meat with it. Or beat off zombies. Or beat off vampires, for that matter.